Would it be funny if like if like Batman was like behind him or something like that?
Just watching him.
Batman, look up. Sorry, man, I'm just playing. And you can follow us on the social media. Follow us at McBlam Entertainment on Instagram and Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at McBlamENT. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You can catch all these highlights, stuff like that.
Find me on Twitter at CryKeem92. Cry with a K, Keem with a K and 2 E's. And also you can subscribe to my channel, The Immortal Nerd 2. That's where I have all of my, main videos and where I stay active at.
But yeah, and if you want to support us, you want to go that extra mile. Not asking you to, but if you wanted to go that extra mile, you can do that for a very, very, very low price. Guess how much they can support us for?
About what? $5?
Yeah, I wouldn't turn that down. but I will not turn that down. But you can support us for the low price of $1 a month. That's less than stuff you can get out of the vending machine, man. Just $1 a month. Be a patron. Patreon.com/McBlam Entertainment. Go over there, support us if you choose to. If not, then we could just enjoy it. You could just enjoy us and be a viewer and be the awesome viewer that you are. But if you do support us, we can put out more content more often and bring the wonderful content, the wonderful, awesome content to the wonderful viewer. That is you. Titans, the new TV series that's coming out on DC's TV channel now.
Yeah, I think the online DC online.
Yeah, I was just kind of like,
thing.
Okay, that's new. I mean, granted, it's not new because I kind of heard that they were going to do that with Young Justice, season 3 as well. And I'm like, you're really going to make people go out their way to trying to get to it now. I'm like, I don't know. If Young Justice is good, then this will be a nice little like cherry on top or whatever. But yeah, a lot of people have been talking about this one, and of course, people have been split down the middle because nothing DC's ever. It's either the most awesome thing in the universe or it's the worst thing in the world because it's DC. I mean, it's been that way. It's been that way for a while. But first, we're going to check out the trailer, and we'll be back with our discussion of it.
Who are you?
Everything led me here. To you. You're the boy from the circus. Madness, madness.
Where's Batman? Batman. I used to think that. I was wrong.
Madness, madness.
I don't know about you, but that looks pretty damn good to me. I
feel like CW had a hand in that.
Yeah, definitely probably did. I mean, the same people that are really doing the DC TV shows and now doing the DCAU stuff is, you got Jeff Johns behind it and everything. So you have someone who knows what they're doing. I mean, they've done really well with the comics and everything like that. But a lot of what I have seen or heard rather, is the dark and gritty tone of this. And in some ways I can kind of understand it, especially like if you kind of grew up with, Teen Titans Go, which has been around for quite some time now, and
if you grew up with Teen Titans Go, how old are you?
Yeah, and like, but I mean that's the thing that's going around now is Teen Titans Go. But the old Teen Titans, yeah, it was silly in some regards or whatever, but it's definitely a lot more serious than Teen Titans Go ever made it, because Teen Titans Go is definitely for kids. 100%, it's a kid's cartoon. I've heard the movie was actually pretty decent and had a lot of stuff for adults in there and everything, so I was like, okay, that's nice. I might check it out when it comes to Amazon or whatever, but I wasn't a fan of it, and mainly because they canceled... what's the name? Young Justice had to be canceled for that show to air. That's, so like I have a chip on my shoulder for that show in regards, because the same thing kind of happened with Spider-Man. They had to cancel Spectacular Spider-Man, which was a good show, just so they could do the Ultimate Spider-Man. And Ultimate Spider-Man is a kid show, like it's very silly, it's very stupid, but it's made for kids, so I can't hate it. I'm just like, it's just not for me. It's not in my age demographic at all. There's nothing for me to watch there. But if you're a kid, if you're 5-year-old, 6-year-old, whatever, you'll probably get a kick out of it, and that's awesome and everything. But yeah, some people aren't really feeling the dark, more serious take on the Titans. And I think that's a lot of bleed over from the DC EU in general, because where Marvel has their fun side and everything like that, and that's fine. They do their thing. I have my own gripes with them being a little bit too silly. The same kind of goes for DC. I could say, like, I think their tone in terms of being serious is fine. I think they should stay there. I have my gripes with them being a little too serious at times, but I think it works for them. I don't know. Where do you stand on this whole seriousness with DC?
Growing up watching some of the dashiki, some of the
DC in Africa, right?
Right. When I was watching some of the DC's shows and movies, I've always felt that, seriousness that they had. Like, that's where I came into, DC world, their seriousness type. So when I see this, when I see this trailer, I'm like, okay, about time, they, started, doing what I, always saw them do. Maybe they can, build up their reputation now. Because I always felt that DC was lacking that seriousness, in my opinion.
And that's the funny thing. Is just like in the comics for a long time, DC was always bright and funny and stuff like that. Just depending on the comic, obviously. If you're reading Batman, especially like Silver Age Batman, I would probably say when I can't remember his name now, but. I can't remember his name. I'm just failing on everyone's names, man, today. But when Dark Knight, Returns, when all that came out and everything, like, that was a much more gritty take on Batman, and it's kind of stayed that way for the most part. You have your silly adaptations and stuff, like you have Batman Brave and the Bold and stuff like that, that come out, which is, more silly, but for the most part, each incantation of Batman has always been dark and serious, because that's what we know him as now and everything, especially, with Burton's adaptation, stuff like that, it's always kind of been there. Again, you always fall back to, Batman and Robin, Batman, Forever and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's always been serious. Superman has always been kind of campy, like Justice League in general has always been kind of campy, and you have your serious characters, but they've always been kind of happy-go-lucky. Then you had Marvel, who always took a more serious approach to it. Like I said, you have your silly characters, or not silly, but you have the ones that were more lighter, like Fantastic Four. Right. But even like comics like Spider-Man, even though Spider-Man can be really funny at times, Spider-Man was actually more serious than not. X-Men, more serious than not often, so it was just humor in situations that would happen, but for the most part, it was like the stories were always serious and more engaging that way, and that always made the characters more relatable in my opinion, but since they've hit the movies now, it's like, let's have some more fun with these characters, Marvel. And then DC's like, let's take this a little bit more seriously. It's like, okay, I see what you're doing, but now we're going to do this. We're going to, we're going to flip it. So now they flip sides and everything. And everyone seems to be gravitating more towards Marvel. Granted, I will agree, their movies are better. I'm not going to lie about that. But, it seems to be an unnecessary, and I you can fight me on this all you want, but there is an unnecessary hatred of DC's properties and stuff, and it's just like, if it has DC on it, I have to hate it because that's the popular thing, even when it doesn't necessarily deserve it, like I admit there's some movies out there that, like, yeah, 100%, I get it. I agree. I can't argue with you. There's movies that I can, but that's just the nature of it. I think the serious tone works, and I will say this: they need to go ahead and give. Have you ever heard of Ismahawk?
The name sounds familiar.
They did this series called Nightwing, the series. It's actually a pretty neat series and everything like that. Acting's a little it gets a little iffy at times, but it's a very well put together series, especially for YouTube. Like, this is one of those series that should have gotten a red series. Like, screw all these other. No, I won't say screw all of them, but that's mean. But this is one of those. I'm like, if YouTube Red was around then, they should have got a series based off of this. It's really good. Like, I'll post a link in the description down below. But I can, and I know probably some of you other people that follow Ismahawk, you can tell like some things are borrowed straight from that series. And like, there's this whole scene where like he's holding the R and everything, and I'm just like, that's borrowed almost straight from the Nightwing series. I can't remember which episode it was or anything like that, but just certain things, certain shots, I'm like, this is Nightwing the series almost. And I'm just like, they didn't get paid for that. So I'm like, I need to pay them. Yeah. Or at least give them some kind of head nod or something like that. But it was to the point, like, the series was so popular on YouTube and in other communities that they were like, y'all need to get the guy that played, his name's Danny Shepard, but I need to get him to play Robin or get him to play Dick Grayson as Nightwing because it was so popular at the time. And I'm just like, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it or anything like that. I mean, a little bit. I mean, they're a small team, just kind of like we are. They're a small team and everything like that. So with better direction, yeah, you can pull a much better performance out of them and everything. So I would go with it and everything, but yeah, there's some stuff I'm like, okay, y'all borrowed this straight from them. Kind of like, what was it, Power Rangers? Yeah, the Power Rangers movie. You saw the Power Rangers movie, right? It was like they borrowed some stuff straight from that Adi Shankar bootleg universe, adaptation and everything. I'm just like, y'all know. Like, y'all know. Like, if you're a fan of this series, like, and people, if you saw it, like, come on, man. I was like, you were so mad that he did that adaptation without your quote unquote permission or whatever, and then you're just gonna be like, but let me borrow this stuff. It's like, get that off the air. Can I use it though?
That was kind of pretty good what you did there. Let me use that.
So I feel it's kind of interesting that they're kind of going this route, because it looks like it's almost kind of mixed. And this is where I think the trailer gets a little bit weak for me, because you have this mix of action, like I said, when, he comes out and everything like that, he's fighting these goons in the alley and just stuff like that. He's like, don't Batman and everything. Wouldn't it be funny if Batman was like behind him or something like that?
He was watching him.
So what you say, boy? I'm like,
That wasn't me.
You just see him like come out of nowhere, and he's just like, he's like, Batman. Look up. Sorry, man, I'm just playing. I didn't mean it. That wasn't me. That was him. That was that dude down there. But But yeah, like it has this mix of like action, and you're gonna have that and everything, but it also has this horror element that I'm not sure will mix properly, or you know, to a certain degree. I'm like, I don't see that mixing too well.
From the trailer, it does look almost like a horror. They have some like horror elements in it, but that can just be, you know, how they're trying to sell the trailer to get us and, you know, invested into it. It may be something totally different.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know, just like a jump scare here or there or something like that.
It might be. It may be like the whole thing that happened like in Suicide Squad with the witch and everything, which I thought, like, you know, for the most, until like she, you know, was full on CGI and everything, you know, it was doing the whole pop lock thing. Until that part, like, there was stuff that was genuinely really cool and creepy, like the whole when her hand comes out from under and flips over, and now she's like, that's really cool, that's really scary, you know. So there might be some of that in here, and, you know, like I said, they might just be using, okay, this is just to sell the trailer and everything like this. So yeah. It might be. I don't. For me, it's like, okay, it's a little bit hard to see these two tones mixing. But like I said, it may just be like, okay, this is an action and it has some horror elements to it or whatever. Because like I said, they've tried this mysticism and action, you know, drama before, and it, like I said, not a good track record with it. They aren't really the best seasons. You know, one of them is actually the worst season of Arrow in essence. But who knows? Like I said, we've got new writers, so it may work out.